Welcome to Renaissance Charge Videos. I'm Rick Friedrich, and today we're going to talk about my recent meeting and the upcoming California meeting. The recent meeting in North Carolina was a success. They seem to get better each time, progressively over the last, well, it's been 8 years. Really, it's been 10 years since I've been doing demonstrations of this technology in buildings, and about 13, 14 years since I've been doing it outside, open air. So today I just want to recap on what we did at the meeting and how it went. I had people who attended all the other types of meetings out there who heartily shook my hand and said this is, really the first significant meeting that they've gone to where they've gotten their questions answered and really have a grasp. Some people going to meetings for 15 years, and different times I've met many people that have gone to, been involved in this research for 30 years, 40 years, and still trying to figure out where to begin. So in my meetings, what I like to do is get practical. They're not talking over your head, terminology that you don't really understand. I try and bring it to a level that I understand and that your average person can understand who's working in this, on a hobbyist level. There are purposes for speaking, I guess, above that level, but most of the people are looking for something practical. So I don't usually advertise or promote things. I just provide what people ask for. But in this case, I just thought I would share a few things about the meetings and talk about the meeting next week. So the meeting in North Carolina was over 20 hours in length in over 2 days. So we started, I believe, at around 9 o'clock and ended at 8 o'clock with the lunch hour break. And then the next day we started a little bit later, but went pretty late as well. I started packing up at around 11, 12 o'clock at night on the second day, so that's how long it went. So I'm a very thorough person, and in this case there wasn't too many people falling asleep. Some people do that. Lots of demonstrations. Here's two models here that if you're familiar with the Don Smith system, you will be recognizing these replications. So anyway, what we did was we started out like I usually do with understanding batteries and energy and the basic alternative energy system with an inverter and all those basics. So battery charging, proper battery charging, I show what most engineers don't know about batteries, about how to properly charge them and really the only proper way to rejuvenate them. And all the curves and all the C rates and all that we go over because, frankly, I've talked to thousands of people in energy, not just in the free energy movement, and most people just don't really grasp the basics. They may know the terminology. So I go over that. It's essential if you're working with the battery system. And, power dynamics, you have to understand your peak usages with your inverter systems, and like peak load, for example, I explain in the meetings where it's not about your average amount of energy. You have to have an inverter and a battery bank size that can handle your maximum demand, which can be, a typical household, 20 kilowatts at times. So you have to either consider getting a huge system or balancing out your energy needs. So I deal with all those kinds of practical questions along many other miscellaneous practical things, like I was talking about promoting the Bishop's original oil, which is Lubrelon, which I'm now selling, as I said in the last video. And so these are just little things that I provide from my experience in engineering. And so we go on from that to the motor systems. I demonstrate the first day a progressive, systematic progression of various topics, so that try not to overwhelm and cover one thing at a time so it's solidified. And then the second day is more advanced. We pick up from there. So we start off with the motors on the basic level, understanding how the energy works, how electrons work. Yes, I'm subscribing to a different view of electrons, which is basically like the Don Smith system, which I'm going to be bringing out in the new book, the Don Smith Energy Crafting book. Hopefully get it done this week, but it may not until later on, after this California convention. But anyway, we move on from that. We go into what I call like my third stage process, and then we get into the Bonita system, which we're going to talk about in a minute again, and we get into the Don Smith system, the resonance systems, applying that to the motors. So we'll be doing a demonstration of both the kits, the dual pole with the resonant kit, working at the same time and actually not diminishing the power of either one of them, running them in a what I call a loving path system. And so we'll be showing that at the California meeting. And so we're showing things on a very simple, safe level so that you can actually see it and work with it. That's what we've done in the resonance kit, the motor kits. So you can really see things without any real big expense and big commitment to buying all these things. So this is the purpose of the meetings, the kits. So then you can take that information and go further with it, however you wish to go in your research. So then we get into some of the bigger systems on the second day, and we were showing the 10-coiler running just briefly, and I had the big window motor there as well. So at that point, after that, we get into the more theoretical aspects of electron theory and electron spin, separating the two ideas of the magnetic and electric, which is essential in understanding the phase relationships. And then of course, seeing them, we had about, I probably had over 30 demonstrations of different things throughout the 2 days. Some of them, if I want to include some very short things, it would probably been like 50 demonstrations of different things working. So I brought a lot of stuff. So the idea then is that, we're showing not just in word, but in diagram, in a physical demonstration, as well as statistics, explaining what to expect, what can be done, and how to do it. So there's, like I've said before, the breakdown is, there's, essentially I broke it down to three different, the last one is kind of 3 or 4, so that's why I had 4 fingers there. 3 different parts of or sections of a Overunity system, and one is that the first one is the first disruptive agitation of the ether, or of the electron, and making that above or below ambient. And then the second one is the collection phase, where we collect this energy somehow, and we trap it, we collect it, we manipulate it. And then, so that's with various frequencies and voltages. And then there is the transformation utilization phase, and so those are three essential processes which you have to kind of separate in your head. So I go over all that, and I break them down in the new book and in the meeting to about 6 different stages that more or less overlap each other, so it's not easy to kind of divide them, but in your mind it's important to divide them. And so I go over that, and we show that in the motor system, where the battery takes care of the last 2 stages, the collection transformation phase. So it's convenient to use a battery for plug and play action, and really seeing this work. I've shown this now for 14 years, demonstrated that it's beyond dispute. There's nobody who really claims that it doesn't work. Those who say that they haven't seen Overunity yet haven't bothered to look at the very basic, obvious system that is, you can see that in numerous videos. The Simple Free Energy video goes over the idea in real basics, really short video. So I encourage you to look at that. On my playlist, you'll see the 3 videos along those lines on the Friedrich channel. So what happens is, we show that on the basic level, then we go into multiplying the energy out different ways, the second stage process, which we're going to get into the Benita's thing in a minute, and then the third stage process, which is, again, Benita's is covered in that as well, in the additional transformer spark gap to the circuit that he shows. And then we get into that, so we can multiply the energy out in the third stage process, the resonant process, as many times as we want. What I have shown over the years has been just the very basic level of that, which is not tuned and is plug and play. And even that can multiply the energy out quite a bit. So you have to understand how a capacitor and inductor work, and they're both the same thing actually. A capacitor is an inductor, and an inductor is a capacitor. And that's something that you have to really sort out. If you really want to succeed in this, you have to understand those things with an LCR meter, where you're looking at a particular capacitor and you say, oh wow, not only does it have capacitance on it, but it has inductance as well. And then you go over to the inductor and you say, oh wow, not only does this have inductance, but it has quite a bit of capacitance. And of course, that changes as the frequency changes. So you have to understand those things to really engineer along those lines, and that's where people have failed. So I explain how people have failed. I'm going to really exhaustively explain it in the book, the Don Smith book coming up. I did an attempt in the first book, with the resonance kit. I have a book that I get into these topics on a certain level. And so anyway, so we do some demonstrations, we explain things, and understand grounding, how grounding works actually. Most people don't get that at all. Well, anybody who doesn't succeed doesn't get the grounding thing, usually. So that's what you can expect. The social aspect of the meetings are very valuable. At times they've been more important than the meeting itself, the content of the meeting, people meeting each other. I've met great people. Most of the people that have come have been really great people, and I've built many relationships and worked with many people at the meeting. It's a place for me to evaluate people in a sense, and also to for other people to meet each other in their area, or even across the country, across the world. People come from all over the world. We had some people from Argentina this last time, and I've had them from everywhere you can imagine. So it's a great experience. We don't usually have very large numbers, and that's better because then there's a lot more personal interaction and you can see everything. Like, gather around guys, let's look at the oscilloscope now. And we all come in there and we look in at the demonstrations. And yeah, no, don't touch that because you're going to get zapped with 15,000 volts. And don't get in between the ground connection because you will be fried. So anyway, when I'm doing a bigger demonstration, I have to have people stand back, of course. But like, I'll never forget one of the meetings in Lansing where a guy came a couple of times and he's like, "I'm glad to see you're not doing that big fan demonstration on the top of your 4-pole because that was really dangerous." And so, "Oh yeah, I do. I just haven't put it back on." And I got the fan out. He's like running to the back of the room because it was a pretty serious demonstration there. So anyway, the meetings are great. I have a blast. I could do that full time. In fact, I'll probably end up doing that in years to come, traveling around the country in a circuit and you know, just going month to month to different meetings or something like that. At least probably will be doing about 4 a year now. You know, the California and the Lansing we'll do, and then we'll change up the other places as time permits. So it's a great experience. It's more important than these videos because these videos people don't take very seriously. You just don't value something that's free, is really what it is. And when you go to the meeting, it's a personal experience. It's, you know, it's just, you just can't explain the difference until you go. So encourage anybody to come that can, and yeah, you won't regret it. I don't think I have anybody really regretting the meeting. So again, you know, what we did is we looked at the magnetic flux as a big part. This is quite an expensive meter here that where you can determine the flux. We look at understanding how to measure that, understanding the significance of it, and then again the big picture that I want to portray to people is how to take the existing parts all around you and make them work. And that's my ultimate goal. Not for you to buy a product from me, it's to educate you, to make you independent, not coming back for more because I'm never giving it to you, but because I'm giving you more content only that you can be more and more practical. So I show various devices all around you which are producing an enormous amount of wasted energy that can be tapped with simple processes, like using the heaviside component, or capturing the heaviside component in the magnetic flux, you know, that's radiating out and you know, then collecting it and then transforming it and using it. So these are things that people don't understand, and that's what we get into in the book. And that so anyway, so that's the meetings in a nutshell, and that's what I'm trying to promote. And it's a time where we can all share from our heart and hold hands and sing. We can have many interesting conversations about a wide range of related topics, and that's one reason why I don't film it, because it's kind of informal in that sense. I did film it this time at a professional who did a great job filming it, and I don't know what I'll ever do, if I'll ever make a video available. I probably won't, maybe a little bit of clips here and there, but I don't want to just take away from the personal element of the meetings. And plus, it's like 120 gigahertz of film, gigabytes. Working with gigahertz, and gigawatts. Oh. So interchanging of the words there, the last word. But gigabytes, that's a lot of information, or a lot of space to try and do something with in a video series or something. So maybe way down the road, like the old convention videos, I'll make them available on DVD.